From corporate America to starting her own branding company, we're joined now by Jasmine Johnson. Jasmine, thanks for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
So we're going to jump right into it. Can you tell us about the darkest night in your career?
The darkest night in my career probably had to be in a position I was holding for a retail company. I was actually the youngest executive at that time. I had a team of about 60 people, and I felt like I was letting my team down. It was after work every day. I was going home stressed, and I just couldn't figure out why I wasn't able to get results in that particular position. And what I found is that the leadership ability I had is very different from management ability. So jumping into that role being really young made a huge difference in the effectiveness I was able to have with my team.
Can you tell us a little bit more about how leadership was different than management?
Yeah, so when you're a leader, you're really just motivating and encouraging people to get behind a vision, versus when you're managing a team, you're really driving for results and holding people accountable. So getting followers as a leader is all about charisma and motivation, whereas management is more so about accountability. And so I hadn't learned those accountability skills that were needed to really drive a team. And so I felt like I failed in that first corporate position right out of college.
So after graduation, like you said, you became the youngest executive in corporate America. Many would consider that to be the American dream.
Yeah.
So how would you describe, you mentioned a little bit about management versus leadership. How would you describe your tenure in corporate America?
Yeah. So when I first got that job, I was super excited. I was baffled that the company actually believed in me to give me such a high position right out of school without much experience. But what I found is that I did all the steps that society told me to take. So I got really good grades in high school, was able to get into UF, maintain a high GPA, graduate with honors, and go straight into corporate America right outside of after graduation. And when I got there, I found that it wasn't anything like I thought, like how I was trained in the classroom or how society had kind of trained me to see that particular role. And what I found is that I hit a ceiling. My leadership ability could only take me so far. My intellect could only take me so far. So there were some other barriers there that I just wasn't able to accomplish or overcome. And so I found myself at a crossroads trying to decide, is this stressful job really what I want to do? Am I truly being true to myself by buying into this American dream?
So what was the changing point for you at that time?
Yeah, I actually had a manager sit down and tell me that engaging and inspiring people was a weakness. And that was something that had been my gift most of my life. I had spent my time, even here on campus, inspiring, motivating people, getting people to buy into big vision, making some changes around campus. I was actually a part of a club called UF Help, and we used to go to low-income daycares and volunteer and kind of encourage the kids there. And so encouraging and motivating people had been a very large part of my life. And so sitting in this job in corporate America, being put on performance for spending too much time engaging and motivating my team versus driving for execution felt almost inauthentic to me. So I felt like I didn't know myself if I would have changed that one thing that company was asking me to change. And so that's when I decided that this isn't for me anymore, and I should take some time out to reevaluate what I really wanted out of my career, out of my life in general.
And during that time off, how did you evaluate those things?
So I was actually expecting my first child, and so that changes things drastically. I really sat down and thought about, okay, what do you really want, Jasmine? What do you want your life to look like 5 to 10 years from now? Do you want to be working this really stressful job that doesn't believe in your gifts, that's telling that your gift is actually a weakness? Or do you want to be doing something that represents you and that's authentic to your voice and your purpose? And so during that time, I really sat down and evaluated the pros and cons. And the cons outweighed the pros. Like, yes, health benefits are important. Yes, a lofty salary and 401k is important. But I think if you have to sacrifice so much of your own identity to gain those things, then maybe it's not an equal trade-off. And so that's what I was able to do during that time in evaluating everything.
So did you know from the early part that communications was going to be the foundation of that?
Yeah, so I always had a love of communication, and even in that role, it started off as more of a community engagement role. And so that's why I really enjoyed it when I first got started. But as the career went on, if I wanted to climb the ladder, the role kind of shifted. And so I always knew communications was going to be a part of me being able to operate in my corporate career, but it started to look different in every stage and at every role, and it wasn't clear cut as I thought it was going to be. So I had to kind of create an opportunity for myself instead.
So you mentioned setting down, evaluating what was really important, having this corporate America job. What gave you the courage to step away from that and to say, I'm going to do my own thing?
It was actually motherhood. Like, I believe I owed it to my child that I was expecting. I owed it to my son to be a happy and healthy mother. And I knew if I returned to work after giving birth, I wasn't going to have that opportunity. I was going to be going back into a stressful environment, going back into, you know, stressful situations around performance and managing the team and things like that. And so really at that crossroads of motherhood and career is where I decided, like, I want to be happy and fulfilled at all times, and my career needs to be as much a part of that as everything else. And so motherhood really was that catalyst for me.